An apartment building in Midlothian has been without water and heat for a week, and now the landlord is taking the village to court.
Our Sabrina Franza spoke to that landlord after a judge made a ruling in his favor.
The judge ruled the village of Midlothian needed to make calls immediately to turn the water back on, was even angry at times, calling the tenants that live here cannon fodder in an argument between the landlord and the village. We met the landlord and his attorney outside this building following court.
It just feels surreal. Like, I can't believe I'm actually experiencing it, but I am not. Whatever I feel pales in comparison to what I feel for my tenants that live here.
Norman Johnson owns this multi-unit apartment building in Midlothian.
All of them are longer-term tenants. They all are lower income tenants that don't have the ability to actually just pick up and just go.
He and his tenants are suing the village. He says they turned his water off after he refused to grant them a permanent easement to maintain a new water system. Problem is, heat in his building is powered by the water supply, and so his tenants have been without both.
There are tenants that live here that depend on water, and their quality of life plummeted due to not having water, and we have a hydronic system here, which means that it's hot water based. The city water actually provides pressure by which that water circulates through the building. No water, no heat.
An attorney for the village of Midlothian told CBS News Chicago that they're in the process of updating the water system on their dime. But because the line runs through private property, they needed an easement from the owners of multiple buildings. All landlords but Mr. Johnson agreed to do so indefinitely, regardless of multiple notices that they'd turn the water off. Johnson says he was still negotiating when the village stopped the water.
When he already granted a temporary easement, and he has a right to negotiate a permanent easement.
The village's argument did not stand in court. The judge at one point called the village's actions blackmail.
By the fact that the city cut off the water to these innocent families and used them as pawns in some sort of intimidation game with my client.
Now the village is required to have the water restored by noon on Monday, and if they do not, the judge says they'll be liable for a $10,000 fine per day. We're in Midlothian. Sabrina Franza, CBS News, Chicago.